On March 9th, 2000, 23-year-old Leah Roberts left her home in Durham, North Carolina, and drove to the Pacific Northwest in her white 1993 Jeep Cherokee. She never told anyone where she was going or why, but she recently had lost both of her parents, which may have influenced her sudden journey. Sadly, Leah would never return. Leah was born on July 23, 1976, in Durham, North Carolina. She had a normal childhood with a wonderful family consisting of her sister Cara, her brother Heath, and her loving parents. However, when Leah was 17, her father was diagnosed with a chronic lung illness. Then, during her sophomore year at NCSU, her mother died of a heart disease. This would take an extreme toll on Leah, and she decided to take time off school in order to spend time with her family. In the fall of 1998, Leah decided to return to college. However, shortly after returning, Leah was involved in a near-fatal accident when a truck turned out in front of her, and during her surgery, she had a metal rod implanted next to her femur. For some, this terrifying event can instill fear and cause PTSD, but Leah reflected on this event positively. Later, Leah told her sister, Cara, that she actually felt like she was born again and had a second chance at life after her recovery. In the spring of the next year, Leah was scheduled to leave North Carolina and spend time in Costa Rica for a field study program. However, 3 weeks before her trip, Leah's father died. Although Leah felt angry and lost, losing both of her parents, she decided to continue with the program. She thought it was an experience that could completely change her view on the world, and granted her sister Cara power of attorney. Cara would go on to say, by the time Leah was 22, she had lost both of her parents, and here she is on the verge of graduating from college. I think she just really felt lost and didn't have a lot of direction, and I feel like she took this trip as a soul-searching trip. After Leah's trip, she wanted to see the world and ultimately dropped out of NCSU 6 months before completing her degree. She would then spend her time learning to play the guitar, writing poetry, doing photography, and adopted a kitten she named Bee. She also began spending time at local coffee houses, writing poetry about the meaning of life and making new friends. Eventually, Leah had an idea and felt inspired about going on a road trip to the West. On the morning of March 9th, 2000, Leah received a call from Cara, who asked how she was doing. Then later, at around 11 a.m., Leah and her roommate, Nicole, agreed to do some babysitting together the next day. Nicole left for work and then returned later. However, she noticed Leah and her Jeep were missing. Leah never had a consistent schedule since she dropped out of school, so Nicole wasn't too concerned at first and thought she just left to go out for a bit. However, when Leah missed the babysitting appointment the next day, Nicole became concerned, and by the end of March 11th, Leah was still absent. Her friends and family tried contacting her, but nobody heard from her. On March 14th, Leah's friends met Cara and Nicole at her residence. Cara searched her sister's room and noticed Leah's clothes and kitten were missing, indicating that Leah left on her own free will. Still concerned, she reported Leah missing to the Raleigh Police Department. The next day, Cara returned to Leah's just to make sure she hadn't overlooked anything. During the second search, she came across a note Leah left for Nicole. With the note was enough money for about 1 month's worth of bills, and upon reading the note, Cara couldn't make out much of it because Leah had made it extremely cryptic. But from what Cara could decipher, it seemed happy. Part of the note had a reference to the book On the Road, which brought back a memory Nicole had with Leah. She remembered they talked about a cross-country road trip, and also remembered another book which took place in Whatcom County, Washington. However, even with Leah's note and Nicole's memory of Leah talking about a cross-country trip, Cara still had no idea where Leah was, or even where to start. Fortunately, Cara had been given power of attorney after their parents passed away, and began looking into Leah's bank records. And while Cara looked through the bank statements, Nicole and her friends visited the cafe Leah used to visit and came across a woman who talked with Leah on a regular basis before her disappearance. This is when the lady revealed that Leah had been talking about visiting Desolation Peak in Whatcom County, Washington, which was also the exact location mentioned in The Dharma Burns, the book Leah was obsessed with. During this time, Kara had also made a huge discovery. Looking through the bank records, she noticed that Leah had withdrawn $3,000 in cash at around 6 p.m. on March 9th. She also noticed there was a motel charge in Memphis, Tennessee on March 10th. According to the bank statements, Leah then headed west until she reached California, and then she went north, with her last transaction being at a gas station in Brooks, Oregon, shortly after midnight. But after this, Kara's trail went cold. Until the early morning of March 18th, 2000, in Washington State, a couple jogging along Canyon Creek Road near Mount Baker noticed articles of clothing at the side of the road next to a slight curve at the top of a slope. Some pieces of clothing had been tied to the tree branches and at the roadside, and in the woods below, the couple discovered a 1993 Jeep Cherokee, which had been severely damaged. The clothing in the vehicle belonged to Leah, but Leah was nowhere to be seen, and after this discovery, the couple immediately contacted police. When investigating the vehicle, police found broken windows that had been covered with towels and clothes, indicating that the vehicle was used as a shelter after the wreck. They also found Leah's passport, checkbook, driver's license, clothes, guitar, CDs, and other belongings scattered in the woods. Bits of cat food and a small cat carrier were also found in the vehicle, confirming that Leah had taken B on the trip with her, although the cat was never found. Valuables such as $2,500 in cash and jewelry were also left behind, suggesting that the crash didn't involve theft or robbery. Authorities then called the North Carolina State Patrol, as the Jeep had a North Carolina license plate, which is when the vehicle was linked to Leah's missing persons report. Officers then left a note at Kara's residence, asking her to contact the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, and this is when Kara learned that Leah was officially missing. Based on the path that the car took and the amount of damage to the vehicle, investigators from Washington State Patrol determined that the Jeep had been traveling at around 40 miles per hour when it suddenly went off the road and down the slope. The contents of the vehicle were then tossed around inside, while the vehicle went through multiple rollovers. But investigators found no blood or signs of injury to an occupant inside the vehicle, such as shattered glass or stretching of the seatbelt. And there weren't footprints leaving the scene. With all of these pieces of evidence, investigators concluded that no one was inside the Jeep when it crashed, and they believe that the accident might have actually been staged. On March 21st, Kara and her brother, Heath, flew to Bellingham, Washington, so they could assist in the investigation. And with the assistance of the sheriff's office, they were able to create a flyer, which they had posted around Bellingham to spread awareness of Leah's disappearance. They also went around to local businesses to ask if anyone had seen Leah. When Kara and Heath arrived at the crash site, they wondered if Leah potentially injured her head and walked away from the scene. But when looking into this, no hospitals had any records of treating a disoriented woman or a woman with head injuries. When going through the belongings left behind, her siblings found a box of mementos from the trip, which gave a more clear picture of when Leah arrived. Inside the box, they found a movie ticket for a 2:10 p.m. showing of American Beauty on March 13th at the Bellingham Bellis Fair Shopping Mall Theater. This small clue suggested that Leah had potentially spent a couple of hours in the city after arriving from her 5 to 6 hour drive from Brooks, Oregon. When asking around, no one remembered seeing Leah at the movie theater. Kara and Heath then went to the mall's only sit-down restaurant, as they believe Leah might have stopped there for a meal. In the restaurant, 2 customers did recall seeing Leah. Both stated that they had met Leah in the restaurant on March 13th and recalled talking with Leah about Jack Kerouac, the author of the book On the Road, and her planned trip. One of the men also claimed that Leah left with a man known only as Barry and provided a description of him so the police could build a visual sketch of the man. However, this later went against the witness account of the first man, who stated that Leah left the restaurant alone. A few days after the Jeep was discovered, a man called the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office to report a sighting. He claimed that his wife had seen Leah disoriented, confused, and walking around a gas station in Everett, Washington. After disclosing this information, the caller then panicked and hung up. During this time, investigators continued examining the Jeep and were joined by the FBI since Leah had crossed state lines. During the examination, they found her mother's engagement ring, which Leah wore constantly under a floor mat. Leah's friends stated that she treasured the ring as if it offered a connection between her and her late mother, and they also stated that she would never take the ring off voluntarily. Unfortunately, investigators didn't find anything else. For 2 weeks, police searched for Leah near her Jeep's crash site in Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest. The area was mapped out based on how far an injured person could travel on foot, and they brought dogs trained to sniff for corpses, metal detectors that could find the metal rod in her leg, and helicopters in the search. But no new evidence was discovered. Officers also contacted the gas station in Brooks, Oregon, in order to obtain surveillance footage, as this was the last confirmed location Leah had visited before she went missing. When reviewing the footage, they saw Leah by herself. However, she kept looking out the window while waiting for the clerk to finish her purchase, almost as if she was looking at someone, or watching something. Unfortunately, the business didn't have cameras on the outside, so it is unknown what Leah was looking at. Later, in 2006, a detective of the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office passed his files on to 2 younger detectives. While reviewing the case, one of them noticed that the car and its contents had not fully been processed for evidence when they were originally brought in. Investigators then decided to re-examine the vehicle, and when prying open the Jeep's hood, they made a huge discovery. They found that a wire had been cut, allowing the vehicle to accelerate without pressing on the gas pedal. They also found a fingerprint under the hood, and a male's DNA on one of Leah's pieces of clothing. These new leads led investigators back to the man who claimed that Leah had left the restaurant with a man. They fingerprinted and DNA tested the witness just to rule out his involvement in Leah's disappearance, and the witness was cleared as their fingerprints didn't match. But after this, investigators reached a dead end in the case. The only other update in this case has to do with an individual named Monica Kaysen, a Wilmington woman who had helped other families find missing loved ones after cases had gone officially cold. She heard about Leah Roberts going missing and became involved in the case after being contacted by Kara. Monica, in a network of volunteers called Community United Effort, who specializes in keeping cases alive in the media after official efforts have exhausted all leads, organized a caravan across the country on the 4th anniversary of Leah's disappearance. The caravan followed Monica's route west to Bellingham to raise awareness about not only Leah's case, but other disappearances, and has become an annual event. It has been over 20 years since Leah Roberts' disappearance, and I hope one day we can get an answer. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more disturbing content. This is Night Messenger. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.